Right, hi, and welcome back. Now, there's a critical distinction between a board that merely functions and a high performance boardroom that drives market dominance. And it is what I call the Bonsai Paradox. Now, here's the thing. A bonsai tree is genetically identical to the giant pine in the forest. The DNA is exactly the same. The only difference is the size of the pot. Your business is the tree and your boardroom mindset is the pot. Now, if that container is too small, growth stops regardless of your potential. And the reality is, most CEOs are trapped in the pot of operational weeds rather than expanding their strategic root system. So let's look at three specific mechanisms, I call them secrets, that break that particular container. By the way, these are not theories, these are practical levers to unleash growth. Right, so let's look at the first secret regarding your time. And this is critical. Most executives I work with are bleeding time on low leverage activities without even realizing it. They feel productive, but in reality, they aren't effective. And you don't have to take my word for it, because there's a research, and the research from the Harvard Business Review by Porter and Noria revealed that CEOs spend 72% of their time in meetings. 72%. And just imagine, that leaves only fragmented moments for really deep strategy. You are essentially reacting to everyone else's agenda rather than setting your own. So the goal here is what I call the 20% efficiency return. You need to reclaim that lost time to achieve a 10% to 20% return on your executive capacity immediately. And how do you do this? It starts with a stop doing list. We are very good at to-do lists, but we are terrible at stop doing lists. And you cannot add strategic value until you subtract operational noise. And this brings me to delegation dynamics. Now, most people think delegation is just handing off tasks, just saying things like, here, you do this. That is actually not delegation, that is abdication. True delegation is empowering the next layer of leadership to own the outcomes. It is about co-elevating your team so they can handle the weight of the operational decisions. So let's look at the calculation. If you can reclaim 20% time of your week, that is roughly one full day. And what does that mean for your bottom line? It means you have the bandwidth to focus on high-level partnership. It means you have the space to refine the vision. It means you can actually look at the market trends before they hit you. So I want to give you a tactical step which you can take today. Audit your calendar for the last 2 weeks and look at every single meeting and ask yourself, was this fake work disguised as productivity? Did your presence actually change the outcome? If the answer is no, you need to cut it. The outcome we are looking for is a shift from being a busy CEO to a strategic CEO who has the mental bandwidth to think. Because if you're always in the weeds, you cannot see the horizon. Now, once you have that time back, here's what you must build with it. And this brings me to the second secret, and that is, my dear friends, the momentum multiplier. Now, we often talk about growth, but what we really need is actual momentum. And mathematically, momentum is mass times velocity. And it is not just about moving fast, it is about moving fast with weight and impact. And there's a fascinating research by Bain and Company on organizational drag, the internal friction that slows down decision making. And here's what they estimate, that this drag costs the economy over $3 trillion annually. Just think about that. Momentum is the only antidote to this invisible loss. And here's the thing about momentum. It is impossible without absolute clarity. Ambiguity is the enemy of speed. If your team is unsure about the direction, they're going to hesitate. And hesitation kills momentum. So you need to understand the difference between alignment and agreement. So this is a common trap. Agreement is when people sit in the boardroom and nod their heads. They just say yes. But alignment, my dear friends, is when people leave the room and move in the same direction. You can have 100% agreement and zero alignment. And without alignment, you have zero momentum. By the way, if you are finding this video useful, please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell, because I'll be sharing critical insights on board excellence, mindset mastery, business transformation, and financial mastery to truly help you dominate your market. Okay, so let us move on. So you need to conduct a friction audit. Where are the bottlenecks? Is it a specific department? Is it a legacy process that no longer serves you? Is it a lack of trust between executives? And you have to identify where the internal friction is slowing down decision making. And this is where the concept of co-elevation comes in again. What you want to do is you want to co-elevate the team so that momentum becomes self-sustaining. And it shouldn't be dependent on the CEO pushing every single day. If you are the only engine of momentum, the moment you stop, the business is going to stop. And that is a dangerous position to be in. You want a culture where the momentum pulls everyone forward. And the result of this is very interesting. When you increase the momentum of the organization, it's going to naturally filter out low performers. People who cannot keep up with the pace or who are addicted to the friction will eventually leave, or you can coach them to align accordingly. And that is actually a good thing for the health of the business. You want people who are energized by speed and clarity. But here's the warning. There's a specific trap that kills momentum instantly. And I saw this happening with a client of mine. It involves how decisions are made at the highest level, and actually it can destroy everything you've built if you aren't careful. And my dear friends, this brings me to the third secret, and I call this the iron wall of decision making. I watched a company nearly collapse during a succession crisis. And what happened is the founder's son, he was driven by ego, insisted on taking the CEO role despite being fundamentally unprepared. Now, he simply didn't understand the gravity of the seat. And because the board allowed personal influence to override professional judgment, the strategy stalled. And this is why top CEOs build an iron wall around decisions. And you must practice decision insulation, ensuring choices are based purely on merit and data, not pressure or entitlement. And without this discipline, you create a toxic environment that eventually repels your best talent. And this leads me to a counterintuitive truth regarding growth. Not every quarter matters. if you obsess yourself quarterly growth over quarterly growth at the expense of long-term health, what's going to happen is you will create dangerous undercurrents. You might hit the P&L targets today, but you accumulate hidden costs like culture rot, burnout, as well as technical debt. Growth is vital, but stability is the platform for the next leap. So remember, efficiency, momentum, and objective decision making form the triad of top performance. Implement these levers and you effectively break the container to unleash real growth. And my dear friends, if you want more insights on transforming your leadership journey, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much.